It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar. Today we are at Wayfair on frst Street, where they put fine dining into a sandwich and fine booze into a glass for 3 hours a day. Every day here they have a happy hour from 4 to 7 with super cool and cheap drinks. What are you guys drinking today? Rosemary Reyes, is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is drinking a cucumber drink?
I guess it's called the cucumber cooler.
A cucumber cooler. Holly Hobbs, you're drinking a cucumber drink.
I am.
Now, I don't know how often this has happened. We have two guests with the same letters that begin both of their names. Rosemary Reyes and Holly Hobbs.
Wow.
How about that? I just noticed that. Rolf Shoemaker, you fucked it up.
I did.
You'll have to change your name to Roomaker.
Once again.
Do you fuck up a lot of stuff?
Well, I add variety.
Add variety.
Yes.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yes.
Well, could you change your name to Roomaker? Or Shelf?
I could.
Shelf Shoemaker.
I have aliases.
Do you? Well, do you really?
At times.
What for? Who are you hiding from?
No, it just makes it more interesting.
Really? Do you introduce yourself as different names to people?
Like my Facebook is a different name because I really
oh dear.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, why do people do that? So because you're hiding? You want to be on Facebook, but you don't want people to know who you are.
I've always preferred to be in the background.
But why be on Facebook at all?
So I can keep up with my kids.
Oh, okay. So you can sort of stalk your kids. Do they know that it's not?
Oh, yeah, they do. They share with me all the time.
Well, what's your name on Facebook, or don't you want to tell us?
Oh, I can. It's Frank Jaffe.
Frank Jaffe?
Yes.
So you're Jewish on Facebook?
Yeah, I converted to Judaism some time ago. And
you converted to Judaism?
If you go to New York, you look in Frank Jaffe in the phone book, there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
So
it's
like
that.
John Smith.
Is it? In New York?
Yeah.
Hey, Rosemary, you're from New York, aren't you?
I am,
do
yes.
Do you know any Frank Jaffes?
I don't. I guess you're the first one.
Oh, good.
Despite there being thousands. So.
Yeah.
How did you know that? Did you spend time in New York?
Yes, spent time in New York and New Jersey.
How long?
Off and on in the late 70s, early 80s when I was in the wholesale jewelry business.
Really?
My daughter's mother is a Jewish American princess from New Jersey.
My daughter's mother?
Yes.
Were you ever married to her?
Yes.
Okay, so you married a young Jewish woman.
Yes, I did.
From New York, and that's why you converted to Judaism.
That's correct.
That's an interesting. Did you have to convert because her parents made you?
No. I just I embrace Judaism. It's very similar to Christianity, and it's the basis of Christianity. Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's I
was
similar.
a ordained minister at one time, and then Southern Baptist, and then I converted.
We've got a lot of stuff to go on already in the first minute. Hang on a second. Where should we start with that? Holly, you're like a professional interviewer. Where would you start with that question? Line of questions.
His approach to religion. How does he approach religion? That's
go ahead, take over.
I embrace it. I mean, it's for me. It's always been good to have a spiritual foundation. Mm-hmm. There are so more similarities in religions than there are differences, and most people seem to focus on the differences, and I like to focus on the similarities.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I have a question. If they're so similar, why do you have to change?
It's not about changing. It's just about experiencing different focuses. I've been going to the Catholic Church the last 25 years. My son's Catholic. My daughter's Jewish.
That's an interesting Christmas and Hanukkah.
Right.
Around the table. I'm totally lost about this, though. Can we go back to the beginnings or close to it? You were born a Southern Baptist.
Yes, my parents are very, very religious. And
very religious?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, I went to church 6 times a week. I read the Bible every night.
Which day do you take off?
Well, we went twice on Sundays and Wednesday nights and Thursdays and also Saturdays for special things. And my dad was always very involved in the church. He was a deacon.
Where was this?
All over. My father was in the Air Force, so we traveled a lot. I went to 10 schools from kindergarten to 12th grade. So.
Religious and military. That's got like 2 strikes there. I mean, not 2 strikes, 2 burdens.
I look at them as opportunities for growth.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true, but still, for a kid.
It was a lot. It actually pushed my boundaries and
Changing into alcohol.
When I was, I loved to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing why. That's a lot of stress for a kid to put up with growing up.
It's a great training.
Yeah.
You know,
But-
I hated when I was a kid. I hated moving all the time. I hated being the new kid all the time.
Yeah.
But it really provided me with some really great tools.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. Did you come up with a strategy for coping when you were suddenly in a
I
had to
read
go
a lot.
through it all again?
I read a lot, so I escaped through reading. I
Oh,
went,
that's
you know.
interesting.
So
But you have to interact with kids when you change schools.
You do.
Did you come up with some sort of like, were you a funny guy or a sports guy? Or
I usually
Fighter.
approach first. You know, I took the lead.
Right.
And say, "Hi, I'm Ralph," and that's really added to my life and
As a little kid.
and the hospitality industry. You know,
Right. So as a little kid, you have to get used to saying, "Hi, I'm Ralph."
maybe a better preacher too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet. Do you remember being kids? You too, Holly and Rosemary. Do you remember introducing yourself as a child? I don't remember that.
I mean, I actually also grew up in New Jersey after leaving New York when I was 9, and New Jersey, the New Jersey culture in general is really specific. You know,
Yeah.
it's like people are pretty direct,
Right.
so they have that New York directness, but there's this extra kind of layer of extravagance with how people present. So there's, you know, gold hoops and lots of gum and like finely teased eyebrows.
Well, you're talking about women, assumedly,
Women
not
and
guys.
but the men are pretty extravagant too. You know, that's the whole thing of the Jersey Shore is kind of
Yeah.
that.
Are people like
You
that?
know,
That's how you grew up.
I mean, there's a
in
lot of that. There's a lot of that for sure. But you know, lots of people go to the gym. It's like this like very kind of aesthetically based culture where people are kind of obsessed with their appearance, but in this like kind of abnormal way.
Well, they don't look attractive on that show.
Exactly. Well, to us they don't, but you know,
But they do.
to themselves they do.
This is a very specific, small sort of culture that you're talking about here.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You
actually.
grew up in that.
I grew up in that partially, but I always identified more with New York City. My parents are from the Dominican Republic, so they're immigrants, and I grew up in a Spanish-speaking home, and that's kind of the environment I grew up in predominantly.
Right.
So I identify with that.
Was
First,
that
yeah.
was that a strong religious background as well?
It was Catholic for sure. Lots of relics, you know, lots of baby Jesus statues around the house, and lots of prayers, but nothing where I was going to church every Sunday like that. It was more of like a cultural kind
Is
of
that a
thing.
Catholic thing? The icons, the things, or is
I don't know that. I think every religion has that in some form.
I don't know. So I
but
thought some types of Christianity don't believe in the idols, and Catholicism does. Is that right? Well,
Yeah, it's more Catholicism.
right.
Yeah.
Well, the saints and stuff, because they don't know what. Do you, Holly, you know anything about religion at all?
A bit, yeah.
Well, what's the deal with that? Is that right? That some types of Christianity are more idol-based than others.
Yeah, the mores are just kind of different. I mean, Catholicism is very old world, and you know, all of it's kind of idol worship. I mean, in Ireland, you know, they bury figurines in the yard to do certain things.
Hey, I did that too. We do that here as well.
And they have
Saint Joseph, you know, that works.
Yeah, and they have amulets, and they have, you know, all
This is
sorts
the
of
Irish you're talking about.
Yeah, they have all sorts of kind of tangible, you know, expressions of faith that don't really occur here.
The Irish specifically.
Yeah, but I mean that's just one example.
How
There's
do you
lots
know?
of others.
Did you spend time on Ireland?
Yeah, I lived there for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It was.
Well, that's interesting. What part of Ireland?
Galway.
Galway. Was that where the Guinness comes from?
No.
Where does
Guinness
it-
comes from Dublin.
Dublin. Did you have a lot of Guinness while you were there, though?
Yes, it's necessary.
I know, it's the best, isn't it?
It is really good. It tastes
You
different
can't
here.
beat it.
It's true. Everybody says it tastes different here, and it's true.
How did you get on with that, drinking beer at room temperature?
Well, with Guinness, it didn't really come up, and it's always cold there. So, I mean, I think after a while,
Room temperature
you
is
just-
cold.
different, right.
Yeah, you just welcome something that's not freezing. 'cause
Are you
you're
from
just
here
freezing.
originally, Holly?
No, I'm from Missouri.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
From Columbia, Missouri.
Mhm,
So I just found that out at the bar before the show. So I didn't waste any time at all finding it.
I'm actually from a farm outside of Columbia, about 20 minutes.
Oh, you're a country girl.
I am.
Oh my goodness, how did you get here? Via Galway.
My dad was a professor at the university, and he was always taking sabbaticals and traveling a lot for work and research, and he spent a lot of time in South America and in East Africa. I traveled with my family a lot, and so I kind of grew up going back and forth between this farm in Missouri and East Africa, and then...
Jesus, I thought Ralph had it tough as a kid. You went from East Africa. What is East Africa? What country is it?
Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. It depends on your definition, but usually there's 4.
You lived in Rwanda, Tanzania?
No, just Kenya and Tanzania.
Kenya and Tanzania. Mm-hmm. What goes on in Kenya and Tanzania? What's the similarity between those two? Is there any?
I mean, they're both Swahili speaking. All of East Africa is Swahili speaking, but besides that, they're very, very different countries. Tanzania is a much more Muslim country. Kenya is a Christian country, generally speaking. Their experiences with colonialism are very different.
What's the difference? One was a colony and one wasn't?
One
was a British colony, or they're both British?
They both were.
Tanzania's original name was
Tanganyika.
And that was a British colony.
Germans and
German
British. Yeah,
as well.
That's
and
why
what was
Tanganyika.
Kenya? Was that a British colony?
British. Mm-hmm.
Was it always called Kenya?
Yes.
Okay, that's right. Mm-hmm. Nairobi is the
Indeed.
capital of Kenya. Remember that from high school?
I do.
Did you know that, Ralph?
Yes, and I think our president has some...
He's from
there.
Kenya, or no?
His father was.
His father was from Kenya, right? He was really born in Kenya, I believe, right? He's not really American, is that correct?
Well, some people say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's Muslim, not really Christian as well.
People say that as well.
So, do you speak Swahili?
I do a bit.
Okay. Well, what can you say in Swahili that would, can you do the whole introduction to Happy Hour if I give it to you?
No.
That would be impossible.
No, don't ask me to
Shit,
do
that
that.
would be awesome if we could do. What does it sound like? Has it got the clicking in the back of the throat type?
No,
it's
that's
not
just,
that?
that's South Africa. That's Xhosa.
Oh, that's Xhosa.
Mm-hmm.
You don't speak any Xhosa, do you?
I do not.
So
not
what does
one word.
Swahili sound like?
Habari gani? Nzuri sana na weweje.
Well, that does sound nice. What does that mean?
How are you? What's going on? I'm fine.
And is it unusual to see a white person saying that over there, or are there tons of white
No, because Kenya was originally a settler colony,
Okay.
meaning that lots of British went there and stayed, lived, because it was an upland climate. There weren't many mosquitoes, so the disease wasn't an issue. And so there have always been tons of white people who've lived there.
people? Wow. And what do the British want with it? What was it like farmland or
It was a positional colony, meaning that,
geopolitically?
Right.
So who do they want to invade? From
Extraction of resources, too, was always
they have
big,
gold
just like every
and
colony.
silver and stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
So what's it close to that the British would like to have controlled around there?
What was it, what?
What's it geographically?
Well, Kenya's on the Indian Ocean, and so it's just right at the edge there, so it kind of is positional to everything else, the Middle East, the Far East, Indian trade routes, Zanzibar, Lamu. all
Okay,
of
so
that.
how old are you when you're going between Kenya, Tanzania, and the
As
little
a
farm
child.
outside Colombia?
As a child, back and forth, and then I've gone probably once every other year since then.
So you liked it?
Yeah, I'm
you
going.
got the bug.
I did. I'm going back to Tanzania in August, this August, for
Wow,
the month.
is it hot? Is
Well,
it
no,
humid?
It's winter there.
Oh, it's in the southern hemisphere, so it's the
Southern hemisphere,
opposite.
yeah.
Oh,
So-
that'll be nice.
Well, it's not winter. I mean, it'll be
Right.
75, but it rains more. It's a rainy season.
Are you going to
Okay.
Dar es Salaam?
I am.
Okay, so are you a because I see here it's just I printed both of your stuff off LinkedIn.
Yes, you're very prepared.
It's the two most intimidating LinkedIn bios you've ever read in your life. I'm not even kidding. If you have low self-esteem, do not read these. So it says here, and it says that you are the consultant workshop leader of a music festival in Dar es Salaam.
Yes.
And somebody put on Twitter something. Is this you who listens to us from Dar es Salaam?
That's definitely probably somebody that I know.
That's why we have listeners in Dar es Salaam. Somebody wrote on Twitter that Happy Hour is their favorite podcast,
Well,
and
that's good.
because it's educational and entertaining.
Well,
And I
whoever that is, if I know them, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So you didn't do that. So someone actually is. I was wondering if it was just a joke.
No.
So someone in Dar es Salaam is listening to us. Well, hello, Dar es Salaam. That is incredible. So what is this Santuri project?
The Centauri project started as an offshoot of the Sauti za Busara Music Festival in Zanzibar, and it would.
Okay.
It's
I don't think I've ever heard that sentence before.
It's funded as a 3-year plan by EVOS, which is a nonprofit or an NGO based out of the Netherlands. Gave a bunch of money to help revitalize the music industry in East Africa.
Why?
So-
What happened to the music industry in East Africa? Did it
Well,
hit a slump, like
what-
the rest of the world, for example?
Sure, but it never really had the resources to be able to go as far as other places, obviously. Vinyl was really an issue, and now with the internet, like there's a lack of, resources available to really make it an even playing field. And so now everybody's moving toward internet-based things, and so it's to kind of help train people, help connect indigenous performers with modern performers, and to create DJ mixes based off of both of those and combine skills and create move indigenous aesthetics into a modern format, mixing modern and traditional
So
aesthetics.
this is a music festival.
No, the Centauri project is not. It started as
It's not a festival. It's just a
an initiative, a project.
a project. Okay.
Right.
So what do you do?
So I'm gonna work with them. Last year in the spring, I helped set up workshops. So we did workshops with a lot of DJs in East Africa to help train them and get them online.
Training to
with-
be a DJ. What does that involve?
well, no, it was more on the
Smoking a lot of-
marketing end.
What's the weed department? Do they smoke a lot of weed, the DJs over there?
Yeah.
Like here?
Yeah,
Same thing.
yeah.
Where do you get it? Is it legal?
No, but it's
Really?
no, it's not legal. But it's something that's kind of people are left alone.
So you don't get busted if you're smoking weed?
You shouldn't
Spinning
do it in
music.
public, but
Right.
but otherwise it's kind of like here. Well, not here, but more
Well.
conservative places in the U.S.
Right. So you go over there. And how did you get the money to do this? Did you raise the money yourself, like on?
No, actually, but it's somewhat affordable. If you get it early enough, you can get a flight for about $1,200, which isn't terrible. But lately, for the last 4 years, my sister has lived in Dar es Salaam.
You have a sister in Dar es Salaam.
I
Well, that's handy.
do.
She's got a
She-
spare room.
She works for USAID.
Maybe she's the person who's listening to us.
Yeah. Well,
What's her
maybe
name?
Mary Hobbs.
Mary Hobbs.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't ring a bell, I don't think. Why does she live there?
For USAID, she works for USAID. And,
USAID.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness me.
Foreign diplomacy.
That's amazing. Have you got any other sisters and brothers?
I do. I have 3 more besides that.
What are they doing? the three?
My brother works for the VA hospital based out of D.C., and one of my sisters works in a public library, and the other one is retired. She took early retirement and works on houses.
Well, you've
So
got
we're
a
all
pretty
very
high
different.
achieving kind of a family altogether, though.
Sure.
From this, and what did your father teach from this little farm in Colombia?
Sociology.
Sociology. That's a good one.
So
right?
all my people are musicians, and so kind of grew up traveling and spending a lot of time thinking about music, watching other people make music, and got really interested in music and social justice issues, which is kind of what moved me to focus on ethnomusicology. I'm a musician myself. I play guitar and piano, but I was looking for a profession that really combined teaching, thinking about music and social justice, writing about it, and then also being able to play and being involved with musicians.
Oh,
and so
crap.
that's
And you're a
how I do it.
PhD student. Have you finished your PhD?
I'll be done in August or December, but definitely this year.
August or December. So on LinkedIn it says that I'm currently an ABD. What does that stand for?
All but dissertation.
All but
So-
dissertation. Oh, so you have to just write. You've done all your coursework.
The dissertation's almost done.
Okay, it
So-
says PhD candidate in ethnomusicology, which I can't even say, at Tulane. And it says planned graduation date May 2015. I thought maybe today was the day.
No. I need to update my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, apparently. So you have another couple of months worth of
Yeah.
writing to do.
Yeah, but I'm almost done.
And what's your dissertation about?
It is on rap in New Orleans, post-Katrina.
Okay, that's a PhD. You're going to be a doctor of New Orleans rap.
I am.
Okay, well, and then on that note, the piece of cucumber just fell out of your drink.
Oh, no, and I got a text. So
Who's it from?
This is from a rap artist named Chasing Cash.
Chasing Cash.
Chasing Cash.
Good name. Is he a local guy, or is it he or she?
He is, but he's quite well known. He, has done production for Drake and for a lot of other people. So he's got 65,000 followers on Twitter. He's quite well known.
Okay.
So
he's Drake's producer. What's he texting you about?
He asked, he said that he was about to log in to my NOLA Hip Hop Archive Twitter because he's going to do a guest spot on the Twitter. So I have to announce him now.
Okay,
so.
You want to do that?
Well, let's make sure it's all set up.
Okay, so he's doing. You have a Twitter account.
I do. NOLA Hip Hop or NO Hip Hop Archive, actually.
NO Hip Hop Archive.
I do.
You don't look like the kind of person who'd have a hip hop archive.
No?
Not really.
What does that person look like?
I would say black. That would be the first qualification I would think of.
I can't see how you would think that.
Well, that's what I would think if someone said they were a hip hop archivist. Would you guys think that, Rosemary?
I think so.
That would be my first buy-in thought. Ralph, don't you think?
Not in New Orleans.
Not in New Orleans.
No.
What attracted you to hip hop, as opposed to all the other music forms in the world?
Actually, it was what I was talking about, music and social justice issues. I remember being in Kenya in the late 90s and seeing rappers, perform on the streets about water rights and, the social movement stuff. And it was fascinating. And then moving here, I didn't really have this plan in mind when I moved here, but rap is kind of the voice of social justice movements, or many of them in New Orleans, and it was interesting in that way. One of them, one voice, certainly.
It would be good if it was doing anything. Is it really effective?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Who would be? I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I don't know this person. What's his name?
Chasing Cash.
Chasing Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing Cash. I mean, that doesn't sound like social justice. That sounds like somebody's trying to get rich, for example.
Well, I mean, sure. There's embracing where you come from, embracing the aesthetics of the genre, and then doing what you do within that. So, I mean, there's certain things that look like things that might not be what they look like, or sometimes they are what they look like, but they're used in a different way.
Well, we don't hear much in the way of social justice hip-hop, except for our fabulous friend Truth Universal, who's awesome, who really does go out of his way to make a point.
He does.
But who else is there?
But there are a lot of people doing it, and, I think we have to expand our definition of social justice and what that looks like.
Okay.
What
does it mean?
Well, for example, Nesby Phipps is a good example. He's
awesome, too. He's another guy who's been on our show.
Right. He's the grandnephew of Mahalia Jackson, and he does a lot of...
Is he really? You never told us that.
Yeah.
Wow.
He does a lot of jazz-inspired work, but he kind of formed the 0017th movement out of Holly Grove. And since that time, it's really become a whole kind of ward movement, or that's, expanded beyond that ward. And, for identity purposes, pride and community, it's moved in from an apparel thing to, music, apparel, a bunch of different directions, and it's really given pride to a community that didn't have much to bank on before.
Which community is that?
17th Ward, Holly Grove.
Holly Grove. Is that where the Holly Grove market is, in the baseball field and that? Over there?
Yeah.
Off Carrollton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's called the 17th Ward. I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nesby Phipps is interesting. I tried to get Nesby Phipps to do a podcast.
Well, I can ask him.
Can see if he'll do it. See if you can talk him into it.
All right.
I think he's such a great guy and so interesting, and the music is so great that I thought it would be good to have, so we could make that part of his social justice campaign.
All right, perfect.
The Social Justice Nesby Phipps podcast, don't you think? So, but there's this stuff, when you talk about social justice, that's talking about changing society, kind of like your dad is a sociologist. I guess that's where that all comes from, right?
Right.
So how does that work, though? How would you effect change here in New Orleans through hip-hop?
Well, I think what I was just talking about, 0017th, is a really good example. I mean, reinstilling pride in one's own community is a very profound movement forward, especially when, that community was so hard hit after Katrina. And before Katrina was suffering, huge amounts of problems.
What's the definition of social change, then?
I mean,
feeling pride about yourself doesn't change anything, except you feel better about yourself.
Well,
you can still be whatever.
And what do people who feel better about themselves do? They act better.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know one followed from the other necessarily.
When you know better, you do better. That's all.
Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a proven fact?
No, but I think it's very true on an energy level.
Is it?
Yeah.
When you feel better about yourself, you do better.
When you know better, you do better.
When you know better, is that like a saying? Did you
it's
make
education. It's about education.
Right. Do you find that to be true in your experience?
I do. I think more educated people make better decisions, more informed decisions. The modern rap hip-hop movement, it reminds me a lot of the folk movement in the 50s and 60s, which I was very much a part of.
Yeah.
And it was about spreading a message, about saying, hey, this is not right, this is going on, what do you think about that? And I think that's what's going on now. I hear a lot in the messages. There are more and more positive messages in hip-hop and rap these days than a lot of people. I think a lot of people, particularly a lot of white conservative people, think of rap or as a thug thing. And there was that image, I think, at one time. But it's like any other music. There's this huge spectrum. You think that's...
Yeah, that's true. And, I mean, one doesn't have to talk about positive, quote, positive, unquote, things to be positive. I mean, one can talk about the problems in one's community. One can talk about how one deals with those problems internally or personally or whatever, and still have it be positive. You don't all have to talk about world change and, in things in a very explicit way in order to... effect change.
What would be the definition of change? That just feeling good about yourself?
No, that's reductive. I mean, it...
I don't know what that means even. What does it reduce?
Reducing something complex to a simplistic form.
Well, that's what we do. We're entertainers.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we do?
Yeah. But I think speaking about one's reality in a way that is aware is never a bad thing. And I think it expands people's, views about things. It certainly expands people's views about the city. It brings to light problems and issues in the city that might otherwise be misunderstood, ignored, whatever.
So you brought some music with you.
I did. I actually brought one from Nesby that we were just talking about.
Yeah, let's take a listen to something that you're
and I was
curating. Is this part of the archive? Is that your hair or mine on there?
It's mine. And I was just saying that he's the grandnephew of Mahalia Jackson, and he does a lot of jazz work. And so this is one of his jazz. Sorry about that.
That's nice. What's this one called?
Blue and Green.
Blue and Green.
Samples Miles Davis. Miles Davis is Blue and Green.
From your keynote speaker, known as some as the G and them 3-4 sneakers, cross-trained and a thought came, put in motion lockdown, digital blocks, sell blue rocks and cellophane. The game finna get washed and I can smell a rain. I invited when it dry, makes the colors brighter. And then turn, I'm inspired. It's only right that I respond yes when asked if I supply. This one fresh out the fire. Would you like to try it? I let it cool a bit. Wouldn't want you to bruise your lips. And I'll admit that I couldn't have been a cooler fifth. Drawn with a felt tip under lunar eclipse. The blue and green enthusiast.
So that's called Blue and Green. Do you know why he called it Blue and Green?
Well, because it samples Miles Davis's Blue and Green.
Oh, it's
from Kind of Blue.
Oh, okay. So what's the deal with that? Do you get sued for that or not?
Well, you can't make money off it if you take a sample. No.
So Nesby's just doing this for art?
Yes.
Oh,
well,
nice.
I mean, he's sold a lot of commercial records and makes money off of those, but he didn't, if he doesn't clear a sample, then he can't use it commercially.
Right. I think he works with Drake as well, doesn't he? Or someone like that. I can't remember who it is. Yeah, he is great. Hey, listen, we're going to come back in just a second, and I want to talk to you, Rosemary, about all these amazing things you're doing as well.
That sounds great.
They're incredible. Pelican Bomb, you guys. But first of all, let me just take a moment to thank these people who makes the show possible today. Today's show is brought to us in part by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or you have a crazy schedule, the folks at Petite Pet Care will take care of your pet in his or her own home. Anybody have pets?
I do.
What have you got,
I've got
Holly?
a kitty cat.
A cat? Okay. What's his or her name?
Violet.
Violet. That's a girl, I assume, right? How old is she? What does she look like?
She's She's 5. And
What happens
she's-
when you go to Kenya, etc.? Who little
I have
towns?
a very lovely friend, Cherie, who takes her in.
Sure, he takes care of it. Okay. Well, if you ever need anyone else, Christy at Petite Pet Care will help you out as well.
Okay, perfect.
Rosemary, do you have a pet?
I don't, but I'm
No.
in the market for a cat.
You looking for a cat?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, we can help you out there, I'm sure.
Okay.
No problem. I'm sure someone listening to this has got a cat. No,
A lot of
there's
cats
a
in
lot
New
of cats out
Orleans.
there. Ralph, you have pets down there in the
I
Bywater?
have grand dogs.
Grand dogs. That's cute.
Well, I keep
Your
my
kids-
son's dogs from time to time and his cat.
Okay. Well, you might be a candidate for Petite Pet Care.
Yeah, right?
Anyway, check them out. For loving care when you're not there, go to petitepetcare.com. Thanks also to Basics Swim and Gym, where they have a full range of fashion swimsuits, workout and yoga clothes with style. The all-new Basics Swim and Gym is on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. Hangover Destroyer as well helped us out make the show today. And they're the guys who make the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. You go to the Hangover Destroyer website. Have you tried this as an alcoholic, in fact? Rob?
No, I haven't. I don't get hangovers.
You don't get a hangover. How did you manage that?
Pace.
Really? That's truth? You can just drink enough to get plastered.
No, you pace yourself.
But
And
do you
hy-
get
and
drunk?
Hydrate.
Hydrate.
And hydrate.
But that's what that means. That means have a drink.
And then glass of water.
And yeah, that's really, if you can do that though,
Yeah.
that's really
It's
hard.
called discipline.
Discipline, yeah. That's very difficult though. If you can't do that, go to hdestroyer.com, write the words happy hour and the coupon code and get 30% off of Hangover Destroyer and seize the dawn. And thank you also to unlistednola.com, the revolutionary new way to buy a house in New Orleans. If you know what you're looking for, you can find your perfect match before it comes on the market. It's thematch.com of real estate. It's unlistednola.com. Thanks to all those folks. And Rosemary. I knew I was going to do that. I knew that the whole time. So, Rosemary, tell us about, it says here that you're involved in something called Pelican Bomb. You moved here to New Orleans, specifically from New York, to work for Pelican Bomb,
I did.
which is not what it sounds like. Nothing to do with pelicans or bombing.
The name is nonsensical. I think it's something that just kind of was put together because it's catchy and people remember it.
Right.
But the organization is a small contemporary visual arts nonprofit. And the mission of the organization is to make New Orleans a sustainable and supportive environment for artists to live and work. So we have a roving exhibitions program where we have pop-up exhibitions in different underutilized spaces in New Orleans and different galleries that approach us. And we have an affordable art sales program on our website where we commission local artists.
Affordable art. That
Yeah.
is a good thing for a lot of people listening to this, I'm sure, are interested in that, because that's one thing about art is it's so damn expensive.
Yeah, and it's kind of
Everybody
absurd
wants-
that you can't
yeah.
really afford it yourself.
Yeah, isn't
and
it? Everybody wants art on their walls and in their house, but you go to an exhibition and you just everything starts at so much money. You're like, wow, I don't really want to pay all that.
So
How do you make it affordable?
we commission local artists to do a special edition print for us of some sort, and we sell everything for $80 on our website.
$80.
And they're all original works. And it gives them a source of income and people an outlet to collect artwork from local artists.
Well,
So-
that's a great idea. So you can have a real piece of New Orleans art for $80 today.
Absolutely, yeah.
And where do we go for that? Pelicanbomb.com?
Pelicanbomb.com, and it's our community-supported arts program.
What a great idea. Oh, yeah.
And then we also do, we have an online publication where we publish essays and art reviews
Right.
about contemporary art practices here in New Orleans and Louisiana.
Who's paying for all this?
It's a nonprofit, so private funders and foundations. We do all development work.
So you
for
raised
it.
money for it.
Grants
Is
and
that
all
what
of
you
that.
do?
That's part of my job, but mostly I work on the website and do community outreach and editorial for the website and things like that. I mean, it's a team of 5 of us, so we all wear 5 different hats at the end of the day.
That's a lot of people, 5 people.
Well, it's 3 full-time and 2 part-time. So, but we do a lot on the website and
Right.
a lot on the ground. So it is a lot of work, but it's fun work.
How long have you been doing it?
Since October. I started there in
Just
October.
October 2014.
Yeah.
Wow.
So really fresh.
So someone hired you and flew you here and moved you here, especially for
Yeah.
you applied for the job, or you know people, or how?
I was kind of in between work. I was working at Juilliard in New York before this.
You see what I mean by intimidating for LinkedIn? You're
And
working at Juilliard,
Yeah.
which is the preeminent music school in America.
That's right.
What were you doing there?
I was working in institutional development abroad. So Juilliard was looking to expand internationally and open satellite campuses around the world.
Wow.
And I spearheaded an initiative in Mexico City and was working abroad in China and things like that to start kind of
China
satellite
and things
programs.
like that.
And things like that.
So
But
what other things are like China? Hong
I think
Kong?
very few things are like
Yeah,
China.
right.
I spent a year in Shanghai as part of my graduate degree, and
Do you speak Chinese?
I learned a little bit of Mandarin, but it was survival Mandarin at that point. So
Can
I
you
just-
say hello, how are you, or whatever Holly said in Swahili?
Ni hao hama.
Okay. Rolf, the pressure's on you.
That's
I'm
pretty
coming
much-
to you eventually for another language.
Bonjour, monsieur.
That's French. Well, you grew up in Lafayette, right? So there you go.
Yeah. I lived in France when I was a teenager.
And you lived in France as well?
Yeah.
Well, that's a very cosmopolitan collection of random folks here. So you lived in China and Shanghai.
Yeah, I did.
What were you doing? Working for Juilliard?
No, I was completing my graduate degree. So I did a 2-year program. The first year was at the London School of Economics in London, and then the second year was in Shanghai at Fudan University, and I was studying journalism actually. And
Jesus Christ, you sound way overqualified to be working down here in New Orleans on some sort of community art project.
I mean, I wanted to do something different and kind of more grassroots. And I'm getting it, and I think I'm learning a ton, and I'm learning a lot about what is needed out there in terms of advocacy.
You went to the London School of Economics, and then which is not easy to get into. I think Mick Jagger went there though.
He
so
dropped out.
He dropped out
like
yeah,
a semester in.
So maybe it's not that difficult. To get in, I don't know. But it's very prestigious school to go to. That's for sure.
It was a great education.
And then you ended up with a degree in an undergraduate degree or a
master's.
A master's in
degree.
what?
It was global media and communications. So
A master's in global media and communications from the London School of Economics. And then you got a job in Shanghai, working on the newspaper.
Yes, I was working as a columnist for the Shanghai Daily while I was a student there. And then I moved back to New York and was working for Juilliard.
For Juilliard. And that was a fundraising type.
It was fundraising. It
Well,
was, it was
it
programming.
outreach? It was an outreach.
Yeah, it was mostly outreach and
So
like
what-
high level.
What did you... High level what?
High level development.
So what in your education prepared you for that? It sounded like you
Nothing.
were
Nothing. It was.
Why'd they hire you for that? Is that your phone ringing?
Yep.
Who's calling?
I have no idea.
240. What? You
What
want to
is
take
this?
it?
I don't know. Should I?
Yeah, you just hold it up to the mic so we can all hear it. Yeah, I know it's scary. You never know who it's going to be.
Hello.
Hi, I'm returning your call about the apartment on Chestnut Street.
Oh, I'll have to call you back on that. I'm
yes.
actually on the radio right now.
What number Chestnut Street is it?
Okay, I'll call you back. Thank you.
So you're moving apartments.
It's so embarrassing.
Ah.
No, I'm not sure, but I just saw one this morning and it was lovely. So.
Oh, you weren't thinking of moving till you saw it?
Yeah.
You driving past?
No, walking past. I live in the Garden District, and
Right.
I'm always kind of looking around for something
Oh,
else.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. What's
I'm
wrong
sorry to
with,
interrupt.
Oh no.
What's wrong with the place you've got now?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. It's
Just
just a little bit small.
Well, that's one thing wrong with it.
Yeah.
What does Violet think of it?
Violet is kind of
She go outside.
unhappy wherever she goes.
She's
so I don't
unhappy.
think it really matters.
Isn't that a horrible,
She's
poor
a
little
cat.
thing? Why is she so unhappy? Because
Exactly.
she's a cat.
Because she's a cat, yeah.
You think cats are always unhappy?
Yeah, they're always just kind of mean and
There's some
intolerable.
happy cats out there. I mean, that's because I don't own a cat, but
Exactly. That
You're
is why
going
you're
to own a
saying.
cat.
You'll learn.
You have to believe that they're happy, otherwise you wouldn't want to get one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
What made you get Violet, Hobby?
I didn't. She showed
Someone
up.
dumped her on you?
She
Or
literally dumped her.
She just really, someone literally dumped her
I
on
was
you.
sitting on the porch and somebody drove by and
No
kind of threw
way.
her. Yeah, when she was a
Wow.
kitten.
You were sitting on your front porch
Mm-hmm.
in the Garden District. Somebody drove by in a car, assumedly,
Mm-hmm.
and threw a kitten out the window.
No, like opened the door
Out
and
the-
just kind of
in front
yeah.
of you.
Well, they didn't see me. I didn't. It wasn't like it was meant for me. I think they just kind of landed in the bushes and.
What a horrific thing to do. though.
Yeah, yeah. So I felt kind of bad, but then I also felt like maybe I should just keep her because
Do you believe in some sort of universal law of...
not explicitly, but it seems kind
Did you
of
think,
like,
God damn it, I wish I wasn't sitting on my fucking porch?
Yeah, exactly. She would, some
Ruined
other
my whole
person would have
damn
had
life
to deal
now,
with her.
yeah.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
I think 5 years. Yeah. She's 5 now.
Wow, okay. Well, that's how you got a cat. Now, how are you going to get yours? I wonder, Rosemary.
I don't know. I feel like it'll just come to me that way.
You could go sit
So
on the
just-
porches at
yeah.
the house you're in now.
Yeah, there you go.
You
feel
could go
like
sit on Holly's porch.
There's a lot of opportunities to get
Hey,
a
are you
pet.
are you looking for a new apartment? Because you could have Holly's
No, I
apartment.
just moved.
Oh, you just
So,
moved.
mhm.
Okay, where are you living now?
I'm living in Mid-City.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, by the racetrack.
So what about Shanghai? Where did you live in Shanghai? How do you get an apartment?
I lived off of West Nanjing Road, and I think what threw me off about Shanghai was just like how prominent expat culture is there. So there are a lot of Westerners living in
Okay.
Shanghai. It's incredibly cosmopolitan and is actually not that Chinese, which is what turned me off to living there because like why move to China if you're not going to have a Chinese experience?
It's not
you know?
that Chinese. What do you mean by not that Chinese?
I
Is
mean,
it
I
like
think-
Chinatown, say, in San Francisco?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there are certain things that are kind of, very explicitly Chinese, but I think I think Beijing would have been a much more authentic experience. I think Shanghai there's a lot of Western money in Shanghai,
Okay.
and there's a lot of, and capitalism is just like, really blown up. And like,
Is it
it's
like,
almost like a cartoonized version
really?
of
Is it like
the
Manhattan
West.
or anything?
I don't know that I would compare it to any city in the West necessarily, but there's a very, very predominant Western kind of presence there, and it's not necessarily a great thing in my opinion.
It's not that positive.
It wasn't positive, no. But I learned a lot being there, and it was just hard to penetrate like the Chinese community because my Mandarin wasn't at a good level, and it takes years, decades to be at a good level of Mandarin.
Can you
So-
write? Could you read any of it or write any
At
of
one
it?
point, I could probably like look at a newspaper headline and guess the topic,
Right.
but
That's
that-
pretty
that's
impressive.
that's as advanced as I got, I think. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, even so. What alphabet is Swahili in? Is it the English alphabet or is it?
Yeah.
It is.
Mhm.
That makes it a bit easier, at least.
Yeah. You don't have to deal with that.
Yeah. Do they have newspapers in Swahili and
Oh yeah.
magazines as well?
Mm-hmm. Everything.
And it's written in the English, so it's not really a written language originally then.
It is. It is. Yeah. Well, not originally.
Well,
it was a
kinda
trade
originally.
language that
Yeah.
began, orally, and then it was translated soon after. It's been written for quite some time.
It has. How'd they get the English? Was that from the? Did they start writing it down after the British got there, or before that?
No. Before that, certainly.
Okay.
But
Can you read it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's in
Yeah.
English.
Right.
Right.
Same
yeah,
language,
yes,
yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Rosemary, you went from Shanghai to New York, and then
Yes.
what made you want to come here and do this?
Well, I guess I'm from New York, so returning to New York meant a lot of things. And it was great being back, but it was also just kind of overwhelming having to deal with just the pace of the city, I think.
Compared to Shanghai?
Or not really compared to anything, just given my personality. And so I visited New Orleans about 2 years ago in August, and
Well, that's a good time to come here.
it was empty and hot, and I
Yeah,
loved it.
it's hot.
I loved it.
You loved it immediately.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And so there was something that grabbed me, and I couldn't really articulate it, but I couldn't stop thinking about the city. And so
What made you come here in the first place?
it's just a little vacation.
Just to
just
check
to
it out.
see it, yeah.
Right.
And I couldn't get it out of my head. And a year later, I was just moving here, and there was
So
this
you were just going
opportunity.
to come
and
here, whatever happened. You were just going to come here and find something.
I was kind of on the fence, and then I got this job offer, and it was like, well, I have to go now.
How cool.
Yeah. It's been a crazy few months, getting acquainted and
It
everything.
has only been a few months, but
Yeah.
you think you're going to stay?
That's a difficult question. I think you need to give a place at least a year or two to really know where you're at and how you can thrive here. And so I'm still sussing it out and,
Right.
seeing what feels good and what doesn't.
And you made friends and everything? You got-
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's been really beautiful is community building here has been
Right.
like really powerful, and people really help each other and look out for each other, and that's a huge cultural difference from New York, where people are just like out to defend themselves,
Right.
and like because that's how you survive in a place like that. But here it's lots of love between people, and that's been really, really remarkable.
Well,
and
that's a nice thing to discover, even if nothing else.
yeah,
How
it's-
could you leave that?
Exactly. So I'm figuring it out,
Yeah.
but it feels good right now.
So other than going to and buying an $80 piece of artwork on pelicanbomb.com, there's some sort of exhibition that people were talking about on Twitter before the show
Yes.
about a hair
Yes, it's called Detangled.
Detangled, yeah.
And it's a multiple platform exhibition. It's online, so we have artists that are digital contributors. We have GIFs, we have personal narratives, we have art reviews and essays that are all about hair. And then we have the live exhibition, which is at UNO St. Claude Gallery, where we invite visitors to come into the gallery and have their hair portraits drawn by a live cartoonist that's there. They'll have their photo taken, and then they'll put their portrait on the wall to become a part of this kind of expanding archive. And they can choose where they belong on the wall depending on commonalities or whatever they feel suits, the other portraits that are on the wall.
Okay,
Is that clear?
No, you can have your hair portrait. What is it?
Yes,
What does
it's
that mean?
basically there's a it's just a drawing of your hair. No signs, no face, no
Okay.
signs of race, no signs
Okay.
of what you look like,
Just
no
your
facial.
hair.
Yeah, just your hair.
Oh, that's real.
When is this taking place?
It's at UNO St. Claude Gallery.
When? Yeah.
It's been open since early May, and it'll be open through June 7th. So
June 7th, 2015, in
Yes.
case you're listening to this at some point
and
in the
it's
future. Okay.
Saturday and Sundays from noon to 5 at 2429 St. Claude Avenue.
Okay, that little low sort of setback.
Yes, it's
Funny
kind of
little building.
discreet,
Yeah.
so you can miss it easily.
It's easy to miss it. Set back right off St. Claude Avenue, like
Exactly.
back. I don't know why it's set back so far. It's like a little bunker.
Yeah.
It's a cute little gallery, though. Actually,
It's a beautiful
They have some
space.
good stuff in there. It's owned by you. Is it UNO owns it?
It's UNO, yes.
Yeah. So did you come up with this?
The founders of Pelican Balm had this idea for a few years, and the opportunity came when UNO approached them to use a gallery space for something.
Detangled.
Yeah. So it's been great because it's something that we want to make accessible for the community.
Right.
A lot of what's happening on St. Claude right now in the arts, can be a bit isolating for the community that's been there for years, and we wanted something.
This is the gentrification type issue.
And it's something that I felt really passionate about in terms of community outreach, something that people come in and are excited and feel a part of and feel like they can understand and engage in dialogue about identity politics and and beauty politics, which is something that's very sensitive, but important for people to feel comfortable discussing.
You mean in the gallery?
In the gallery
itself, so people come in to have their hair portrait done, and then they end up getting into a conversation about it.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful. I think it's been a really positive space for people, and I've gotten to meet really a lot of amazing artists who work with hair as their medium.
Really?
Yeah, it's been
How
really
many
interesting.
artists work with hair as a medium?
You'd be surprised.
I would be. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
What are they doing, these people?
One woman was doing these this is kind of strange, but she was doing these drawings of men's butt hair.
Men's butt hair.
And actually, we'll probably be putting one of the drawings up on our website.
Okay.
But so very kind of obscure, weird
who is this
things.
person?
I actually
remember her name?
I don't remember her name.
Okay,
off the
so
top of
she
my
goes
head.
up to someone and says, "I'd like to take your pants down, and I'd like
I
to
don't know
sketch your
I don't know what
butt
her
hair."
practice is or what that looks like. I don't know if it's something that she's imagined or if she's drawing.
Oh,
it,
I see. Doing it out of your imagination.
Yeah, it could be, or she could have
Okay.
a point of reference, but it's hair in all its forms, body
Okay.
hair, and that's kind of where we're getting at on the website too. Is we have a lot of pieces about Tennessee
Hair.
Williams' paintings and hairless men, and we have one person talking about going gray at an early age. I talk about being an Afro-Latina and
You've got
having
a
to
lot
come
of
to
hair.
terms with my natural hair, and there's one piece about being a redhead. So it's just like
What do you call yourself? Afro-Latina.
yes.
That's a great name. Where does the Afro bit come in?
Just I guess because the Caribbean and Latin America is diasporic, everyone is mixed. So identifying with blackness and being Latino, and that's something that is kind of, unfortunately, it's very new for a lot of people.
Afro-Latina. It's got a great ring to it. You're sort of Afro-Latina, Ralph, as well.
Thank you.
With your hair. What'd you say?
What did I say or what did I say?
No, so you're down in the same part of the world there. Rolf,
Yes.
Rolf works at Bacchanal. I asked him before the show what should I describe you as, and what did you tell me? You do adult supervision
I provide adult supervision. Yes.
at Bacchanal. But you're in the same boat where you have like a sort of a gentrifying neighborhood that you're kind of responsible for gentrifying.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I've been hanging in the bywater for 15, 20 years, and I look at what's going on as a natural process. Cities do this, and it's just part of change.
Yeah.
And I can be a force with a positive aspect of it or a negative. So I always try to look at things in life in a positive way, and to accent that. And I think by doing that, it makes at least the world I live in better.
Well, part of Bacchanal's mission at the beginning was to be a sort of a community.
It always has been
Hang.
that. It's always been a place for the community to come. It was very much so after Katrina. Chris, the founder, always wanted a place that people could come and be as they were, not as how they think they should be, but how as they were. And he was always very accepting, loving, allowed a place for just people to have community, and it's grown as many things do, and organically we provide a lot of more services now. We have a lot of local live jazz, a lot of young musicians, a lot of people from NOCA, as well as other places, and provide opportunity for them to play, and it's just
It'd be a good hookup with you guys, Pelican Bomb, as well.
yeah. I was
Be a
thinking
good
about
place
that
to do
be-
something.
because we have a lot of bare walls upstairs, and maybe we could do something,
That'd be
some kind of
wonderful.
involvement,
Yeah.
and an ongoing thing,
Mhm.
like because that's what Bacchanal really is a place to experience living and in all its forms.
What do you really do there, actually?
I provide the facilities management. I have a lot of different skills so that I make sure things work and they're fixed and
Okay.
they work.
So you're-
I also help manage. I help. We have a lot of young people there, and that's what I like about the hospitality industry. I'm always involved with people of all ages, but it keeps me alive and vital. And
Well, you've been in the hospitality industry for a long time. After you got out of
over 40 years. Yeah.
after you got out of the jewelry business.
Well, in between, I get bored sometimes. I like different things.
Yeah.
But I started as a bartender in '74, and when I was in college, and then
Were you still going to church 6 times a week?
Well,
while
it
you were
depends on your
bartending?
definition of church.
Okay.
If you say Bacchanal, yes, that's my church.
That's
now.
a church.
That's my church. now.
Okay.
But
Well, Bacchanalia is a religion.
it is.
I
It's
just
a-
don't know if
it's-
there's an actual spiritual being at Bacchanalia, is there?
It's for me. It's a celebration of life, and all those really earthy things of life that are basic. Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of churchy in the
Well,
in the community
in a lot
concept.
of ways, it has a lot of spirituality to it for
Right.
me. I feel whole and complete there. I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people every day, share views, experiences. There's a lot of love there.
Yeah.
And that's what you were talking about earlier about New Orleans. Is there's a lot of expression of love and community here that you don't find many other places. And I've lived a lot of different places, and this is really special. This is where I choose to draw my last breath. This is a special place that we live in, and there are a lot of changes. And in spite of getting my car towed and all those other things, there's no other place I want to live.
What do you
it's
think?
life.
What do you think makes a place special? I mean, you've moved here too, Holly, and we've all moved here. What do you think? Is it the place? Is there like a place on a map? Is there a geographical point that makes it special?
Sometimes.
Do you think that's what it is? It's the confluence of forces, or is it just people?
I guess it
History,
depends.
too. I think the history of the city probably has a lot
Yeah,
to do with
very
it.
much so.
And again, like Ralph was saying, it feels like there is something holy here. It feels like a sacred space where you need to be mindful about your presence, and be intentional about your presence.
How does that jibe with the activities on Bourbon Street and that whole side of New Orleans, which is pretty prevalent too?
There are many colors in life. I mean, there's so many aspects of life, and that's just one of those aspects. I mean, it's not life, but it's part of life.
Right.
And it's also, Bourbon Street, for all its perceived negative aspects, is a driving economic force for New Orleans.
Well, yeah, you can't deny that.
In
and it
many
is
ways.
people enjoying themselves as well.
And so that affects us all in New Orleans. And but that's not New Orleans. Bourbon Street's not New Orleans. It's part of New Orleans, but it's not New Orleans.
Graham.
Hi. Well, I just wanted to say that Bourbon Street, you were talking about Bacchanal, you were talking about the spirit. Those workers in the French Quarter, there's such a connection there. That's a big part of the city, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true too. But that's part of a celebration of life too. That lifestyle, even though it is insane
And it gives permission.
and drunk.
It gives people permission that they don't always have in their lives, other parts of the country.
Right.
They come here and they have permission to do whatever they do. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
not really pretty, but it's still, they're experiencing something different. They're allowing themselves to be different in some way. And I think that's a very life-giving, positive thing.
Did you give up formal religion at some point, from going from Southern Baptism to Judaism?
I don't think I've given up anything in religion. I consider myself a spiritual person. I have a strong faith. May not be definable or agree. My brother, for instance, he's older than I am. He's very, very strict religious in terms of literal interpretation of the Bible. And he worries about me every day. He prays for my soul every day. And I keep telling him, it's cool, Jeff. We believe the same thing. We just talk about it differently.
Why does he worry about you? Because he
Because
thinks...
I don't say and act the way he thinks that a person should act and
That's what I'm
speak.
saying. You left it behind. The sort of straight and narrow church interpretation of religion.
Yeah,
You've replaced it with hanging out in a bar, talking to people.
which is pretty much what I think Christ did.
Yeah.
I try to live a Christ-like life every day, and which my view of what Christ was about. And
Consciously.
Yes, Christ was about loving the people around him, affecting a positive change in the world around him. I was raised to save the world, to be evangelists. To knock. When I was 9 and 10 years old, we go door to door on Saturdays. Are you saved? Do you know Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? That's not what I do now. But I can't save the world. But what I can do is affect a positive change in everyone I encounter every day in my life. And in some small way or some large way, if we all did that, it'd be a pretty incredible world. And so I can't tell other people what to do, but I can affect the world around me and the people I encounter.
And both of you guys are doing the sort of same thing. Holly, you're trying to spread social change through music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's what you're setting out to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Rosemary, so you're trying to make people more aware through art. Hey, we got a call. Who is it?
It's a business call that I...
You can't take a business call on the show, really. Is it about a new apartment in Chestnut Street? That would be fun.
No, it's just a business call.
So you're doing the same thing, Rosemary. You're trying to
Yeah.
sort of make the world a brighter place through art.
Absolutely.
Pretty interesting combination of people, considering that it's a random collection of folks sitting around a table. Thanks to Graham DePonte. Another good job. We've got to get out of here in a minute, but let's take a listen. In fact, right now we have to get out of here. Can we take a listen to one more thing before we go, Holly?
Let's see. What do I have? We can do... Well, what kind of mood are we in?
Change the world. Feel good.
Up.
Okay.
Up. Yes.
Uh,
Can I talk over something?
yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, put it on, then I'll talk over and
All right.
I'll get us out of
We'll
here.
do brass band because that makes everybody happy.
Okay.
This
What-
is
who
Manny
is
Fresh
it?
performing with the Stooges Brass Band. live.
Manny Fresh and the Stooges Brass Band. Okay. Okay, so now if we want to go hear this, if we want to hear the stuff, your stuff.
You can go to NOLAHipHopArchive.com. That is the website where you can see 50 oral history interviews with New Orleans rap and bounce pioneers.
NOLAHipHopArchive.com. You've done over 50 interviews with New Orleans hip hop artists.
I have.
Good heavens!
Yes.
Wow, how cool! What have you learned? Well, how could you sum it up if you were to be reductive about it?
We all learned new words today. I learned that there are very many different ways to think about art, but everybody's approaching it with the best intentions in mind.
That's a good thing to be able to wrap it up with.
However they explain that, or however they show that, everybody's trying to make the world a better place in their own way.
Every musician and every artist in their own way. They're trying to make the world a better place. And what are we going to learn when we read your dissertation when it comes out?
How artists post-Katrina were using music to rebuild their communities. That's a lot of what I write about.
And will we be able to actually read it? Will it be available to us?
Yes, my dissertation should be turned into a book that would be available.
Okay. So how do we find out about you and keep up with you?
I do have a small website, marasabah.com, marasabah.com, or you can always find what I'm up to at NOLAHipHopArchive.com.
Okay. We'll have a link to your stuff on our website. It's neworleans.com too. If you're at the gym or driving around or somewhere else or underwater and you can't write it down, go check it out on our website. It's neworleans.com. Holly Hobbs, thank you so much for joining us
for having
today.
me.
It's been great. Rosemary Reyes, thanks for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to leave us with any final thoughts about where to find? It's pelicanbomb.com.
Pelicanbomb.com, and the exhibition Detangled is open through June 7th at UNO St. Claude Gallery at 2429 St. Claude.
Very good. Well, we just say, that information is at pelicanbomb.com
Yes, it is.
as well. And Ralph Shoemaker, thanks for joining us as well.
You're
We can
welcome.
see you any day or any night at
7 days a week
Bacchanal.
at Bacchanal. We're open 7 days a week at 11 o'clock.
And can we come and ask for you?
Yes, you may.
I would like to do that. I'm sure some of our folks will do that. And
Look
find
forward to
the avuncular and adult supervisor,
Yes,
Ralph Shoemaker.
you're in safe hands.
Thank you very much, everybody. That was Happy Hour for another week. Thanks for joining us. The producer of our show is Graham DePonte. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh is our music director. And our theme music that we normally play is written and played by Mitch Foreman. If you'd like to be on our show and you can sit around a table for about an hour, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, it's neworleans.com, where you can also check out a lot of other happy hours. And you can listen to other shows we make here as well. Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace. Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic. True to the Game with the fabulous Chris True. Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss and the Men Who Ate New Orleans. Ray Canata. Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tooker. Milo's Music Parlor with Kim Vu. And the revolutionary new way to buy a house in New Orleans, Unlisted NOLA. You can keep up with us on Facebook and Twitter and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. Actually, we're on all of it as It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com. And on our Facebook and Google Plus pages, you can see what we all look like. It's going to give you a shot. These photos are taken today by Alison Moon, who is over here. That's a person. You should be going to the hair exhibition. Check out Alison's hair. It's purple. If you're listening to this show on iTunes or Stitcher or some other podcast app, thank you for subscribing to us. Do one thing for me. Take one moment to rate and review us. That helps other people find, especially in Dar es Salaam, right? That is the most amazing thing of all. Our show is recorded live today at Wayfair on Frst Street, where they put fine dining into a sandwich and fine booze into a glass. Come on down and check them out. They have a 3-hour happy hour from 4 to 7 every weekday, and awesome sandwiches as well. Happy Hour is a podcast, it is, and a production of INO Broadcasting. For itsneworleans.com, Andrew Duhon is on the road. You can find out where he is. He might be in a place near you. Go to andrewduhon.com to find that out. For Graham DePonte, everyone around the table here at Wayfair and back at our office at INO Broadcasting, thanks for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. I'll see you back here next week on Happy Hour.
Nancy Kerrigan, Miss Val, and Amanda Pelkey want you to join their team on an empowering 7-night cruise to Bermuda. Bring the whole family on the Aurora Games Cruise, an experience designed to empower young female athletes. The 5 iconic mentors who will inspire her journey include 2-time figure skating Olympic medalist Nancy Kerrigan, championship UCLA gymnastics coach Valerie Condos-Field, and U.S. Olympic hockey gold medalist Amanda Pelkey. Visit AuroraGamesCruise.com today to score your spot on the first ever Aurora Games Cruise.